Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having this time to talk with me regarding my manifesto. Those who don't know me, I'm by names of Stephen Mukalagi. I'm a candidate for the Member of Parliament in Nyabushozi. I was nominated last evening at NRM Secretariat. And as I had said before, my manifesto hinges on five bigger sectors that affect our society. And one of the sectors, one of the biggest sectors that I want to intervene and work on is health sector, where specifically, if you see in our district, it is very unfortunate that Kilhura district is one of the districts that don't own a hospital. We only have Kilhura Health Center 4, and I've been reliably told from my researchers that President Yoweri Museveni in the 2017-2018 financial year, he offered or he pledged to give Kilhura a hospital, but this one has never been it has never materialized. So as a contestant, as someone who was born in that area as a Nyabushozi kid, I do commit, if I'm given the mandate as the Member of Parliament for Nyabushozi, one of the biggest and immediate intervention that I want to undertake is to ensure that this hospital that was pledged by His Excellency the President is delivered. In other words, I will ensure as a Member of Parliament to advocate for this to happen, whereby Kilhura Health Center 4 will be given the status of the hospital. In other words, they will get all what it requires in terms of staffing, in terms of equipment, in terms of materials, so that it can be a full-fledged hospital. That's one of my manifesto pledge. Number two, we have health center series, which are already in the status of becoming health center 4. That I can give an example of Sanga Health Center 3 and the Kinoni Health Center 3. These ones, if I'm given the mandate, on top of what I've said to Kilhura Health Center 4 becoming a hospital, I do commit, I do pledge to people of Nyabushozi that this one also, these two health center series will be upgraded to health center 4. Because I've seen in some of other new districts, I can give an example of the Mitoma district, which is very new and even very small, to the extent that is even less than one of our sub-counties. There is a sub-county called Nyakashashara. It is as big as the Mitoma district. And you find that Mitoma, in the last only 2-3 years, it has already gotten a district hospital. It has already received 2 health center 4s in a very short period. When Kilhura district has been in existence, they have never gotten a district hospital. So I do pledge that Kilhura is going to get a hospital because it's already pledged by His Excellency the President. Number 2, we are going to get 2 health center 4s, working closely with the local government and the center of government. There are some other areas, some of other sub-counties, like Akayanja sub-county, which doesn't have even health center 3. So that one is those small areas that have those challenges of understaffed and staffed people in those health centers are going to be staffed under my tenure as the Member of Parliament for Nyabushozi. That's number one sector that I want to invest most of my energy and my aspirations and my advocacy as a Member of Parliament for Nyabushozi. That's point number 1. Point number 2, of course, I call this Nyabushozi value chain of development. Moving from health sector, I've dwelt much also on education sector, which is sector number 2 that I want to undertake. This sector of education, I have specifically looked at one of the core and critical challenges we have in our area, which is technical, vocational, and education training. And specifically, I have mobilized through the local population, whereby I've worked with one of the sub-counties and engaged the local leaders and they accepted to give me a land equivalent to 3.5 acres of land, and we are intending to have a technical and vocational training in one of the sub-counties called Rwenshande. And this technical and vocational education training institute is going to support and help young people from Nyabushozi on the issue of youth unemployment, whereby these guys are going to get employability skills and they will be self-employed. And this is going to tackle the challenge of unemployment among our young population. That's my manifesto number 2. That's where I want to engage my time in education, specifically under TVET. And I call this skilling in Nyabushozi agenda. That is a sector number 2. After Harris, that is education. Then another sector that I want to venture into, or where I have put much of my emphasis, is in agriculture. And in agriculture, I prioritized 2 sub-sectors, whereby there is a project I've come up called the Nyabushozi Coffee Initiative, whereby I have piloted together with my friends around 150 acres of land that we want to venture into coffee growing, so that we move from the traditional way of agriculture, where people think that growing banana plantation is the main economic activity. And I want to go into commercial agriculture, where we have ventured into coffee. And that project is already in initial stages that I have initiated myself with my few friends. And I want the support of the government so that this can materialize. Still on agriculture, there is a project I've called Nyabushozi Veterinary Rebirth Project, whereby we are going to look at 2 critical ends of agriculture in terms of the veterinary sector, where we want to see the quality of medicine. What are the quality assurances that are being done by National Drug Authority, so that we don't have substandard or expired or even fake drugs that are already on our market and they have not proved to be effective. And on the other side, on the demand side, we want to look at the qualifications of the vets. These people have enough capacity building? Are they qualified? Are they competent enough to undertake what they are doing in our sub-counties? That's about the veterinary sector, and that goes to agriculture, which is the third project that I'm undertaking. Then the first one is about infrastructure. In infrastructure, there is a project I've called Nyabushozi Ring Road Accord, where we want to look into those roads and we see what are the relevant budgets that are available, how can we ensure efficiency and quality. And this is mainly for the local government, but as a member of parliament, you always undertake advocacy and over like the coordination and advisory as well as supervisory role to see what is being done, if it is done in accordance with what was planned in advance. And then there is what you call the network infrastructure, where most of our areas in Nyabushozi lack networks. And I have piloted 3 areas, one in Chikati, specifically Kibuza, then another one in Kanyadieru, specifically in Rwamranda, and one in Kinoni, and specifically in one of the places called the I think it is called the Akajumbra sector. And those 3 areas we want to elect musts for those areas so that they can have communication networks. That's about the infrastructure. So the listeners, my friends, my brothers and sisters who are listening to me, there are some 2 other biggest challenges which I have called enablers. That's about water and electricity. And in terms of water, there is a project I've come up called the Nyabushozi Water for All, whereby we want to engage with local population to ensure that these people of Nyabushozi have water. And irrespective of the traditional methods, whereby most of the leaders came up with the projects to get water from some water sources like Rurambira in Kachera. And those projects, I've been told from the reliable sources that they came and they came into a standstill. So I am coming up with alternative, whereby we are going to come up with projects to drill water from underground, and they are then distributed into sub-counties. And I have said in the next 5 years, if we are to pilot 2 sub-counties, in the next 5 years, all major sub-counties, around 10 of them would be having water that are drilled underground. There are some investors who are willing to work on that one. There are some friends of mine that I worked with before, like the Germans and the Netherlands, who we can mobilize and come and do that undertakings and support our people to get adequate water, rather than what they've been promised for over 30 years and it has never materialized. On the electricity point of view, there's also another project of off-grid. I call it Nyabushozi off-grid project. This project is going to also to work like what I've said about the water, which is not the traditional way of getting the electricity from Uganda Electricity Something Board, which they promise, and most of the what they've done has not even benefited the entire population because of the nature of our county. Because in Nyabushozi being a densely populated, it is even costly to the government to ensure that you get electricity, for example, to Akayanja, and you take it to Shara, where you find that someone has 3 square miles and there are only like 4 or 5 families. So it would be very difficult to take electricity at that side because it is costly statistically. So what I've come up with my friends and comrades is to ensure that we also come up with investors who can come and do off-grid by coming up with bigger and mega solar panels that can be put in some of the sub-counties and then generate enough electricity to support trade within the upcoming areas. So those 5 projects are summarized the main reason why I have decided to intervene as an economist, as a certified project manager, as someone who has over 10 experience working with World Bank projects, UNDP projects that are uplifting people from poverty. In other words, when you look at the government, the NLM's core interventions or principles or areas of intervention, you look at the democracy, you look at the Pan-Africanism, you look at the socio-economic development and patriotism. On those 3 areas, the NRM government, under the stewardship of His Excellency the President, they have really done the tremendous work. But in Nyabushozi, however much they say it is the first district, that's where the President Museveni comes from, and other prominent leaders, when you go on the ground and analyze critically, you find that Nyabushozi is lacking almost everything. But because of that umbrella of saying that the president comes from there, it looks very awkward when you see they don't have electricity, people don't have water, there is no hospital, and people outside there think that Nyabushozi has everything. So those who are listening to me, come out. I've been nominated. I appreciate the NRM government. I appreciate what the president has done for the last 40 years and what he still does for us. But as young people who are true Pan-Africans, who want to change our societies, who have benchmarked from other developed countries what they've done, let's come out. Let's support each other. Let's change our society. Let's not look at what people are doing in terms of what they've called the money bags. People come and give you money, and then you vote for them, and then the service delivery is done at that stage. So I'm coming out clearly. I am offering myself. Those who are listening to me, those who want to work with me, come out. We develop our sector, we develop our country, we develop our county, and specifically we see on what is the most challenging, what is the most pressing issues that are affecting our county. Thank you very much for listening to me. I call upon everyone to come on 16th July and vote for Stephen Mugabe Mukalagi. Thank you very much. Mwebare munonga abantu ba Nyabushozi bampurikize amazina n'Mugabe Mukalagi Stephen mbere nominated nyuma abazyo kwetemba mwanya gwa MP Nyabushozi nkabaye bampurikize aninga shabumbe nagambire nabo background yanjye ndi economist kandi ndi project manager certified and as well as bulletproof manager certified. Nizire kwetsimba Nyabushozi ahawa challenges ningashi ebizibu bindi biri mu kicweka kitu ekindi kuzarwamu mbwenu ninyenda kubarabiramu icyo kubanza n'ikizubu ekiryo mu health sector ningashi ebyamarwaro kushanga Nyabushozi nka county ninga Kirihura district tini rwaro ya district n'ikintu cy'obusasi haze kinte icyo nko mwebembezi ninga nko muntu oine objective yo kwebembera kitweka ni committee ngashininga nindagana sabantu ba Nyabushozi ukomura mpaka rurukanyu niza kugezaho nindeba ngo iki president Museveni yabe yagambire mu budget financial ya 2017 no actually ko na mucanze 18 kweza Kirihura district hospital cyayemerire niza kupushinga parliament making washwa ngo ikintecho cyashikirira Kirihura yatunga district hospital kabiri hariho nka health center series nke ya Sanga ninga ya Kinoni already ezabire nazo zagiro mu status yo kuba health center force konkana zo kabura bazikuratira so ni committee ngakamemba wa parliament ngwecyo nacyo niza kukikoraho abo kubanka Sanga ni ma already na sieta bakaba bajombekere aba doctors konkati nuko busasa kushanga ngo ejo sieta already ekaba abantu aho bakurara aba doctors aho abaruire aho kutabaruire when it was intended to be a theater icyo n'ikintu cya herese kintu kwenda kutamamani ecya kabiri nicyo bwegese ngashe education abako ine project y'indetse reba kweta skilling Nyabushozi agenda aho tutandikire tukwenda kutishomero rya TVET ninga cyari ibe mukono erabeno yamba eminyeto abo kwekozesa bakeza kushoma bakaba self employed ecya kashatu n'ecya agriculture ninga shopping no burisa aho nyine project y'inyesire Nyabushozi veterinary rebirth project erabena bahambaziyente gukora iba kweta counter assurance ya National Drug Authority bakarengwa imbaziyente iba kutasiyo mu ihanga n'imbazi murungi nicyo usatse kushanga let's say twantogesa nka Nortras ukashanga Nortras ya Uganda inekizubo kanda abantu abakogesa abakubodaringa na Tanzania abakuyimbazi nka Tanzania ukashanga imbaze yaberi erije kandi biona brandem so chiko nikimanyisa ngo quality assurance ningashi haramu there is a need for counter checking on the court of the medicine so icyo ninza kukikoraho ekindi necha icyagurikari cya hine project y'intandikire y'inyesire Nyabushozi coffee initiative kureba ngo abantu ba Nyabushozi twatandika kuzomwani ningashuka ingomwani tukarwo mu biyentoke okay nabyo twasa kuvuguma mu konkashi twazomurika amasha gurikari cyo president Yoweri Museveni turanagambira abantu ngo batandike kwingomwani bibe productive iki ni kintu cyakashate kintere mamani ecyakana cyetse infrastructure ninga ibintu byenguto kureba nguto zito za mutindo then hine project y'industry yo kwata ha network kureba ngo bitwe kabitine network twatame mirongoti ngantu nkarwesha ndore twatungire I mean kibuza twatungire itaka ryo kutame mirongoti wa muranda twatungire itaka ryo kutame mirongoti kinoni turutungire kandi agambire nabanywana banje abonashomere nabo baruwiringi abakora mu MTN na Airtel some of them have even come to undertake a feasibility study kureba ngo ahanta aho twatame mirongoti ecya muheru mbiyetire enablers ni project ibiri ya mizi n'amashanyarazi ya mizi ngetsire Nyabushozi water for all kureba ngo abantu ba Nyabushozi twatunga miza abo kuba it is the biggest challenge ninga abantu ba Nyabushozi nicyo kintu cyamani kibatura binemekizo mbwenu turebera mizi agabebembezi ba promisingire agamwegezire gashiro muhanda gakemerera so agonto basagumza muturengo twagatunga konkashi what would be the plan B at plan B ninga alternative methods in a project y'intandikire n'abagenzi banjye iriyo mu initial stages kureba ngo twa mobilizing investors bija ba drilling is underground aza let's say umyaka 5 every year twagumontereza sub counties ibi so umyaka 5 ya mandate yanjye at least Nyabushozi out of 12 sub counties 10 of sub counties nizo zatungira mizi indijo project ine ya mashanyarazi nayo haro mashanyarazi aga government nagwe batandikire gukora ko nkagatura garemere mbwenu alternative method ngizire twijana project ya solar panels nayo tukagigroring out tunegeye amezi ahubwo I have friends of mine from Germany, from South Africa, from Netherlands who can come as investors bakija bakakora iki kintu cy'amashanyarazi bakakweta off grid electricity ninga solar energy. Ibi bintu twabikora ni transforming Nyabushozi from what it is now to a better place. So ni pendera ngambira abantu ba Nyabushozi bampurikize banywana banje bunasomire nabo abakumanya competence yanjye abakumanya the skills and knowledge I have gained, what I've done before, the experience, competences and the qualifications. Kuyimuka tukakwatanisa mukampagira then ibintu tukakwatanisa tukabireta mu kicweka cyitu. Nebyo bike mukamabongera mucyo.